Welcome back to the Transform Your Mind to Transform Your Life radio, podcast, and television show. I'm your host, Life Coach Marina Young, and sitting in the guest chair today is Shelby Carino. Shelby and I are going to be talking on navigating the reality of the twin flames. And listen, hey, if this is a topic that you've never heard about, then I encourage you to stay till the end, because you know what? Knowledge is power. And we always need to know who are we supposed to be attracting, how we can attract them, and how the universe works as far as our soulmates and twin flames and all that type of stuff. So definitely stick around. You're going to be learning along with me on this topic. So welcome, Shelby.
Thank you. I'm very grateful to be on your show. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Thank you as well. And yeah, Shelby has her own podcast as well, so she's going to be pro at this. So
I
we'll
love podcasting.
exactly. Yes. Okay. So let me give you guys a brief introduction. Shelby Carino, a distinguished mentor, speaker, and CEO of the Queen of Total Wellness. She has dedicated her life to empowering highly sensitive women in building deeper connections, compassion, and intimacy in their relationships. With a strong background as a public school teacher for over a decade, Shelby's true calling lies in guiding women in their personal and spiritual development. Following a life-changing spiritual awakening in 2011, Shelby created the Spiritual School Curriculum. This groundbreaking program enables women to approach their relationships with confidence and grace by equipping them with effective communication, problem solving, and stress management techniques. Today, Shelby Carino stands as a master of energy transformation, utilizing her unique ability to alter energy patterns through her voice. As the founder of the Queen of Total Wellness, she continues to guide sensitive women in overcoming maternal issues and rediscovering their true spiritual purpose through her transformative podcast, The Relationship Reset. Awesome, awesome, awesome. All right, so we're going to dive right in and start off. Shelby, can you tell us what exactly is a twin flame, or the twin flame? I don't know which is the correct adjective. And when I was researching the topic, I found that there is a popular documentary called Twin Flame Universe on Netflix. So maybe you can tell us about the twin flame and tell us how, if it's the same thing as what they were talking about in the twin flame universe. And I understand that you also have a personal story with this. So
Well, thank you for the amazing introduction. Okay. I mean, it's always great to hear about yourself through the mouth of others, right?
you're welcome.
So thank you for that. Yeah, I was telling you this before we actually got going here on the podcast, is that twin flame is a topic that is extremely personal to me, simply because of the journey that I've had and that I continue to have, that falls under this label of the twin flame. And so, just a slight background little story, is back in 2011, I did not know consciously that I was seeking this awakening of my spirit, my energy, my consciousness. I just knew that I was wanting something more. I knew I wanted like this love, that perfect love. I was getting all ooey gooey, right? And so my spirit, because I had gone through a divorce when I was 30. I was married for 4 years. I'd gone through a divorce at age 30. And that's when a lot of this spiritual energy started kind of shake, rattling, and rolling. Well, when I got flung back into my parents' house back in the day, because I clearly had to clear up some generational stuff, that's when my spirit was like, I'm ready for my man. I'm ready for that perfect love. I'm ready for that relationship. I was like, I was so ready. I had gone on this 48-day forgiveness journey. I had done all the things. And so one night I just happened to Google, like, or no, I went on YouTube and I did a twin flame meditation. Like I came across the label and I'm
Mm,
like, what
got
is this
you.
label? Like, what a twin flame? Like, what's that? Like, it was this new concept that everybody has out here, right? When you see it for the first time.
Mhm.
And so being out in the matrix and like Google has everything out there, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's all accurate, right? So I Googled, I YouTubed, and then I did this twin flame meditation. Okay. It was like a 5 minute or something meditation on YouTube that I found. And I kid you not, several days later, I literally manifested the energy and a person that represented what everyone said about the twin flame.
Wow.
So that is what led me on this rabbit hole of what is this twin flame? Because it was such a strong energy. And
Mm,
what I didn't realize is that back in the day was I was seeking the energy of what the twin flame represents more so than the person it would
mm.
run through.
Oh.
And so what I learned in my journey along the way is twin flame is an energy
Mm,
and it is manifested through the mirrored effect of our higher soul journey, like what we need to manifest for ourselves and our shadowy aspect to get to that love space inside of us that we want. So the way we do this is we do it through relationships, right? We do it through the partnerships. But because all of us possess some type of psychic energy, right? We all have it,
mhm.
then we're very big projectors. So, because we're very big projectors, then when we draw something in energetically to ourselves, we project that onto a canvas, which is usually another person. So they reflect back to us what we want or what we want to chase or what we want to see. So nobody taught me this when I opened up twin flame. So I became the person of like the minute this person manifested in my life, I was like, oh my God, the twin flame. This is my perfect love. This is the match to my soul. This is everything Google and YouTube told me it was. And then I started learning, well, why am I chasing? Why is this not being reciprocated? Why are they ghosting me? Why is all this stuff happening?
Oh, wow.
And so then I learned about the fate twin, right? If there is such a thing. Well, I went so far in the rabbit hole of this through several quote unquote twin flame, what I thought were relationships that really weren't. So much so that I wrote a book about it.
Mm,
And so my book is called Twin Flame Love. And it's literally a full version of the actual truth of where I ran the energies through this person who I swore was my twin flame, but they never knew that I was running and feeling what I was feeling. And I had made up this relationship on my own as if they were the person that I was supposed to be with. And that brings me to the Twin Flame universe, that documentary, because this is where it gets very dangerous in the realm of Twin Flame, because I had that strong feeling from several people, like, oh, this is my twin, and a mentor, guru, whatever you want to call them, were like, oh, that's a fake twin, and I'm like, what's a fake twin? I don't know what that is. And then I go on my journey, and then there's this other one, and I'm like, oh, well, because this person's like around in my life, and I have conversations with them every now and then. Well, surely this is the person, and that was the one I wrote the book on. Okay. And because I went through every download of the twin energy through that person. but that person didn't stay in. So then I kept going on with my journey, and then I actually found my true spiritual mentor. And that is when I met who is now my husband through her NLP courses. And she's also um, a kahuna in the Hawaiian system of Huna. So she's very, very ethical. I call her Yoda. And when that twin energy ignited between him and myself, then I still went deeper into that energy. And even our mentor was like, oh, okay. Like she knew, okay, y'all exploded in the energies. And then that's when he and I went down into some very deep soul work through time, right? Because he's clearing shadow, I'm clearing shadow. We're doing couple, there's just been a lot. Like it's the depth of how you ascend, like to yourself. So I say all of that to say that when the twin flame, and I teach this in my course, I go through all of these. You can't teach what the twin flame is in like a 15-minute podcast episode, but in my twin flame course, I go into how the twin flame is an energy instead of a person. And that is like the most critical piece of information that I could share, which is a golden nugget of information, because what that Twin Flame Universe documentary shows is the twin flame is the person. And at all cost, you should get with that person. And what's happened is people have gotten obsessed. They have restraining orders put upon them. They have people blocking them. And so that information, and because I know who those people are, because when I have been out here and I saw that they had these courses, I researched them because I wanted to know what people were doing out here versus what my experiences have been. And I got very angry because I was like, this is a misrepresentation of the truth. And there's a lot of money being made through that misrepresentation. So when I learned of the documentary and I was watching it, I knew from the time that I first saw them several years ago to what the documentary was, I was like, this is horrific. And yet the information, like you can find anything you want about twin flame online, podcasting, anything like that. Unless you are truly working the energy of a twin flame, like an authentic energy, and and hear what that person's experience is, then you're just selling an ideology of the twin. You're not necessarily the truth of the twin. And because you haven't moved it through yourself. And that's where I get very passionate, because that's a misrepresentation out here of the twin. And the twin flame universe is a prime example. And so, especially with the person who runs it, the male, it's more of a God, like I'm God, I call that spiritual ego. It's like the spiritual ego talking, but taking something sacred with the twin flame and then convincing people that this one person is your twin and at all costs you do this. And then if you don't do what they tell you to do, then you're not following the path, which is a complete hoax in any type of spiritual ascension. But the information of the twin is, for the most part, on point. It is someone who is representing the other half of you, right? And whether it's that masculine energy or that feminine energy, but that energy is coming from you. It's your energy of your twin, of your female male part, that when you bring someone in and you project it, they shove it back in your face. And so it's the dance of yourself through someone else. And there is a process that is way more ethical and aligned to work the process of yourself with that person. But if that person never shows back up in your world, if they're ghosting you, if you haven't talked to them for 3 years every now and then, but you have all these thoughts about them, but you think they're your twin, it's not true. It's not the facts, because you're not, the twin flame doesn't keep you stuck. The twin flame keeps you moving. And so I've had so many clients over the years that, especially when I was moving, in the depths of my twin experiences, I was manifesting so many women specifically, and men, but a lot of women, they've been stuck in these things of the twin for 3 to 5 years, and some have been more. And it's like, okay, that's not what that's not the truth. That's not, you have a feeling and you have a belief in your mind, but until you work the energy, you don't have movement. And the twin flame
Okay.
is about movement.
Okay. All right. Wow. That's amazing. I was starting to be confused, but then you kind of clarified it almost right to the end there. So what I heard about the twin flame before is that it's your soulmate or your soul person. But what you said at the end there made me understand. Well, what I know about relationships is that relationships, one of the reasons that we're supposed to be in relationships is that a relationship's like a mirror. So you experience yourself through the relationship. So I think what you're saying, if I'm understanding it along with the listeners, is that the twin flame is a relationship that you send the energy to, and then the energy comes back to you like a mirror, and you feel complete. Is that what you're saying?
It's basically the level of depth that your higher soul self is willing to go with another human being, that their soul depth is willing to go at that level, which
Okay,
is what creates the depth of that intimacy or that connection.
right. So how is it different from soulmate, or is it one and the same, just a different name?
Yeah, it's a great question. I got this all the time in the beginning when I was doing this stuff. We all have soulmates, right? Like, I mean, you're a soulmate to me, right? We've connected and here we are on a podcast together, right? So we all have mates to our soul through time. But what the twin flame has done has romanticized a label. And so, because the twin flame is really a mate to your soul, though, that's going deeper, right? You're going deeper with that person. And yes, they probably do have a much more, what I would call, etherical timeline connection with you, based on whatever that is. And maybe in this lifetime, you've come to really go to that depth, because there's not a lot of people who probably do the actual twin flame phenomenon at the deepest layers, right? So
Yeah, I'm almost sure of it, because people go into relationships based on certain different things. But I'm going to throw something at you that just came in my mind, and of course, we didn't talk about this or whatever. But let's see, because recently I've been talking and reading a lot about the soul, and one of the people that I spoke to talked about the soul contract, and like, and then I'm reading Conversations with God right now, because I'm going to be interviewing Neil Donald Walsh in a few weeks. And we're all talking about the soul is here to experience something. And the contract that you want to experience is set before you come into this body. So is the twin flame like a soul contract?
in my experience, yes.
Okay, all right.
Yes. Yes, because I knew from the time I was young that I had this perfect, and I put in air quotes if you can't see it, unless you're watching it on the media, but
Right.
like, from the time I was a child, I wanted the perfect relationship. Well, what I was really seeking was this higher or highest connection to myself. but I wanted to experience that through the relationship, right? Of the perfect person for myself that would get me to that, what I call that God essence of myself.
Mhm.
That's where the twin flame label comes in,
Okay.
because the twin flame will take you there, right? It'll
Mhm.
take you to those depths. So I'm very cautious with how I use the word twin flame, because it is such a soul connection between two people that is so deep, and it's messy, in the beginning because of how everything explodes, but you have to be guided. Like, there's a process to this cleaning up process of yourself.
Okay.
And so, but because we're moving, I'm going to expand this a little more, because we're moving into the fifth dimension energy. I don't know if your listeners are really familiar with that, but it's a higher frequency. So this higher frequency we're all moving into, we can't just have what I would term as that soulmate relationship, which is like, oh, we like the same food, we like the same music, we're really good friends and have great sex. You know what I mean? Like, that's very surface level, because it doesn't require your soul to go as deep, right? You're just comfortable. So this twin flame phenomenon, this label is coming up because people naturally need to put a label to an experience.
Mhm.
But really what we're doing is we're growing at the depth of our own romanticism of ourselves through a relationship. So if people want to use that twin flame label, that's fine, but it's really them growing their own spirituality deeper with a partner who has the capacity to open up and go deep as well. And not everybody does.
Right. All right. So I want to circle back to something you said that was very interesting in your story. You said that you met someone and you connected with this twin flame energy, but that was not your twin flame, and the person ghosted you. So, what is the download that you would think that someone else is your twin flame and they're not? They're to me, they're not a mirror because they're not giving anything back. Explain that.
Yeah, when when I was in the space of desperation,
Okay. You made
you
it
know,
up. All right.
right, the space of desperation, and I was just like, life sucks. I'm living with my parents. I am 30 something years old. This should not be happening right now. What's happening? Okay. And so my spirit was like completely open for whatever.
Okay.
So the red flag of myself should have been, I was chasing. Like I took something, because we're instant manifestors, really. Okay. So it's like I heard something, I took it, my energy immediately went and implemented it. And then that shifted a belief system in me that this had to be the person. But that person had absolutely no idea what I was talking about, what I was running. It was not fluid. Whereas when I met my husband, and I was in a NLP class with him, and we had been in this class for 6 months before anything ever surfaced. So when I saw him in the first part, when I first started this course back then, I was like, "Oh my god, he's so hot," right? Like, "Oh, he's so cute." Like, the physical happened. Well, then he had a girlfriend, and I was like, "Oh, he's off limits." Well, he's known my mentor since he was 16 years old. And so as we were going through class, there was one weekend where the girlfriend didn't show up because she was taking these practitioner courses, with him. And something happened where he looked really sad, and I called him over during a break, and I was like, "Hey, what's going on?" Because I was kind of interested in this other guy. I kind of just moved on. And we just kind of had this conversation, and the energy was flowing. It was mutual.
Mhm.
That exchange was mutual. There was no sexual energy involved. And people get confused that if you lead with your sexual energy, you're not getting a clear representation of the connection. So he and I were having a spiritual conversation, and the physical was behind us. We weren't leading with that. And so after this conversation, during this quick break, I said, "Well, can I give you a hug? I feel so bad for you, for like how you feel, right? Like what you're going through." And he's like, "Sure." So we stood up and we hugged, and it was like fire
Wow.
hit my back. It was
Wow.
like I
Wow.
mean, I was, and I'm starting to like sweat, and I'm like,
Wow.
does he realize what's happening? Like I'm sweating, and I wasn't in a space to think, oh, he's my twin flame. I wasn't in that space. I was just I'm just helping you out. Well, my mentor's partner that taught with her forever, he walks by and he says our names. He goes, "Oh, Joe and Shelby." And I was like, "What?" And then it just turned out that then after that, like the next day, he asked for my number so we could do some change work together through the course. And then we started meeting up and not for anything else other than this change work. And my mentor pointed out, I'm very impressed with what you and him are doing. Like you're doing some very deep soul clearing, and there's so much respect between the two of you. So that's what I learned. I was like, because I wasn't chasing the label anymore. And
Mm.
and so he and I really dropped into this deep spiritual work. So our soul kind of went into contract with that. And through time, when the ego would surface, when my belief system would surface, when he was getting challenged, we would have these like back and forth, like, he didn't believe what I was saying, or, you're not seeing what I see. Like we were having these things, but we were being guided through time with our mentor because we were soulfully waking up. And then it just turned out that when he got to a place in his soul of spirit, what he needed to see, and I got where I came, we just like
Came together.
slammed together,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's
because
beautiful.
mhm.
Not too many people are going to meet their twin flame at class. So, how would the layman person that is, you know, right now, there maybe 50% of the people that are listening are looking for their twin flame, their soulmate. So what would you tell them to recognize the energy?
I would definitely, my biggest piece of information from just my experience of that and the clients and students that I have, you know, had numerous conversations with about this is it always happens when you're open. So when you get to a space where you're no longer seeking what I call love, where you're not seeking the romantic love, you're not obsessing about it, then that's when it like happens. It like drops in. And what usually happens, and I teach this in my course, my twin flame course, but what usually happens is right before somebody's about to meet their match, is what I call it, they go back in time and they start thinking about all of their exes, or the exes show up really fast and they
Mm.
get confused, and because they're drawing that energy in because they're actually trying to make themselves complete with this energy of the past. And so that usually happens and it confuses everything. And then all of a sudden it's like once those timelines are cleared, once those energies are in, that person, it's like boom, like they manifest. So I have people, when they go through my twin flame course, it actually wakes them up spiritually into their spiritual communication channels in levels that they didn't even know they had. Because when you bring in your person, especially for women, you have to be in control of yourself. You have to know where you're guiding yourself to guide the man, because the man comes in for that female to take them higher in the energies.
Mhm.
So I educate the women about that. And if the women are not at a place in their spiritual awakening where they can handle their power, their spiritual power, without emotional manipulation or abusing the man, and with those energies, then they're going to cycle and they won't pull in someone they can actually work with. So it's really a growth process for especially the female to be aware of what's going on, not mentally, but actually walking the path out before that person ever gets in. And I had done so much work before I had ever pulled in Joe. And then when I pulled in Joe, it was like I did so much more work, in my masculine side. So women usually pull in men. So to answer the question, they'll usually pull them in when their feminine side of themselves in the spiritual energies is way more balanced and grounded. And they
Yeah,
see
I
how
agree.
they've treated men over time.
Yes,
Hmm.
I agree. Yes, when you're in your feminine energy, that's when the male is attracted to you, number one. And you're right. Whenever you're seeking, you're actually pushing away. So you've got to be open to whatever the universe sends you. So that's great. And that's way that I do believe that you've got to be open. I think that I'm married to my soulmate, twin flame, whatever we're calling it these days. And we knew immediately, both of us. The minute I saw him, the minute he saw me, and yeah, and then my body physically reacted. Um, not we didn't hug, but my heart started to do somersaults. So I do believe that he is a soul contract, because both of us knew immediately. And we've been married now, 17 years, and our relationships is almost like when we first met. So we're able to keep it really good.
I love it.
Yeah, so that's amazing. Now, you kept saying a couple of times about this. Sometimes there's a push and a pull dynamic where your one flame is a runner and the other one is a chaser. So a lot of times women are doing the chasing.
I know.
And I know that it's not a good thing, because men are supposed to be hunters and they don't really want women chasing them. But is the man supposed to chase the women, or what is this? Why is this bad?
Yeah, it's so interesting because in the twin flame dynamic, if everyone wants to use that label and they're seeking what they're seeking, which is really they're seeking a spiritual partnership.
Right.
Okay. So people are seeking this spiritual partnership, but they're doing it in a very matrix way of how we did relationships in third dimension. And you can't do it both ways. So when women say, "Oh, I like this guy and he needs to chase me." Well, they stop there all because that's a belief system.
Yeah.
And they go into what they've been taught, that the man needs to pursue you and the man needs to court you, which I mean, I don't disagree with any of that. But when you're working on a spiritual side and the woman carries an added energy center because we do birth. And so women, whether they realize it or not, they are responsible for moving energy. And so the twin flame is all about a spiritual, energetic movement, not a connection, a movement between two people. So if the woman is not connected into herself spiritually, which is why I have my spiritual school curriculum, because I go through all the spiritual communication channels like the psychic energy, the mediumship energy, the celebrity consciousness energy, the 5D. I go through all the energies because if women don't get educated about what that is, because that's what creates their power, then they don't know how to guide a guy. They don't know how to guide this man into his spirit to where he'll be in the spiritual connection with you in all ways, because that's what the twin is about. So the runner chaser is usually where the female thinks that, oh, this is the guy that's for me. So she starts sending all of her energy to this guy. And so she's chasing him, and then the guy gets overloaded with all the energy, and he's like, "Peace out. I'm done." And it sends the female into a tailspin because she gave it all away. So she's
Mhm.
like, "I want him back. I want him. How do I do this?" And I'm like, "Well, you got to start working the energy, because that's you that you just pulled, that you just gave out, and we don't even know if he's the truth, but he's running around with it." So, and then the woman usually shuts down and doesn't want to do the work. So, so you're not going to get what you want from the man if you're not willing to do the work. So I have to tell women, if you're going to run the belief system of the old paradigm, which is surface level, I need the man to pursue me and chase me, well, you're not going to have the dynamic that you want when you feel the energy and you naturally project it. So, because women, a lot of the women I work with, they're not educated on what their spiritual energies are and what they mean in their world of self. They're also not aware of how to use that in a relationship and how to lead a man. Because once a woman is leading a man into his energies, which is why men are very fixated on uh, emotional women because they think it's that psychic energy. Well, if the woman is not leading appropriately, the man can't even chase her because she'll push him away.
Mm.
So there's so much to this concept, which is why I have it in a course, and why I have a whole
Yeah,
curriculum, because you can't mentally understand it. You have to walk it through.
have to walk through it, right?
But
So
the conversation has to
the man
begin.
is never the chaser. It's always the women that's creating this energy. Okay,
And she
interesting.
tangles up the man usually.
Okay,
And then the man is over here like, I don't know what's going on.
okay, all
And
right.
he's just going to do what the man does until the woman untangles it.
Mm. Okay.
And then once
I,
it's all untangled and they have appropriate direction, then it's easier for them to start being accountable to that entire force field of energy together.
okay, I got it. Wow. I can see now why you need a course on it. Yes, it's totally over my head.
It's a lot in a short amount of time. Yes.
Yes, I know, right? Exactly. So one of the things that you also talk about is helping women to break free from limiting subconscious patterns and outdated spiritual beliefs. So how does that tie into their twin flame energy?
This is such a passion of mine just because of my personal experience, and everybody will learn that when you go through my curriculum because I speak from my personal experience and all my mishaps so you don't have to do what I did but still get your outcome. But what I do is I help people, especially women, reset their relationship, because that's what helps with the outdated belief systems of what they were taught from maybe their mother or their father, or you know these relationship books that are now honestly outdated, relationship shows that are outdated, because we're moving into such a huge spiritual energy that is forcing us to change ourselves. So there has to be this new perspective of what this is. So I usually send people through my relationship reset course first, because it resets the foundation of what we ever thought relationships were about. And it sets us up on a path of truth, so we understand what we've done in relationships prior, so we can challenge the belief systems and keep what worked and then let go of what didn't, so we can have an integration into now what is. And that's what creates the mindset shift, which is why I love your podcast, because it's about, you have to
That's
transform
what
the
it is.
mind
Yeah, you do.
in
Yeah,
order to release the spirit to do what the spirit came here to do.
right. Yeah. You
So,
got to transform your mind if you want success in anything.
yeah.
And, yes, yeah, it says it's in the Bible. So, all right. So let's talk about your course. I think we touched on it on almost every question, but tell us about your course and what inspired you to create the course for the Twin Flames.
It's a great question. I just got chill bumps. Ooh, all through my body.
Hey, you're
Okay.
passionate. Yes.
I am so passionate about the twin flame label. Just because of the personal experience that I've been through with it. And when the twin flame wakes up your heart chakra, right? Like it wakes
Mhm.
that love inside of you up. That's why people get so confused because they're like, but I feel it. It's in my chest. I feel it. I feel it. And it's like,
Right.
okay, well, it's an energy. So don't get fixated on the person yet. Let's work the energy so we can get the right person in that will match the process you want to go through. But what
Mhm.
got me started is my discovery of my own experience with the twin flame label that led me into something my mentor had said to me, that Shelby, you have to create something for him to come into. So it sent
Mhm.
me on this, because I was a school teacher for 11 years.
Mhm.
And then I went on this massive spiritual awakening, and then like my whole life changed. And so I I signed up for this spiritual school business boot camp because I didn't know how to take all of my spiritual, abilities and put it into something I was seeking, right? So something that I had learned was to create a tribe. So I created this twin flame tribe on Facebook back in, I believe it was 2018. Was it 2018? Yeah, it was 2018. And from there, I started seeing all of these versions of myself
Oh, wow.
and all of the people that showed up. And because they were all drawn to the twin flame, right? That
Mhm.
label.
Mhm.
So in order to teach them, because I'm a teacher by trade, I'm a teacher by natural ability, then I went, oh dang, I'm gonna have to put all this into a course.
Mm.
So I started, my very first course I ever created was my twin flame course. And I have different levels of the twin flame because I have like twin flame 1.0, 2.0, 3.0. Because as I've ascended, I go back in and I tell the story. I go back in and I put the information in. And so when I saw what was happening with these students of mine that had come into this tribe, and I was coaching and they were doing my course, and I saw how they were leveling out and they were manifesting things they've never manifested before, or bells were going off in their head, or they realized I don't need to chase the guy, I'm chasing myself. And then everything else was coming. They saw how everything was lining up in their world. And then from there, I started creating all the other courses to fill in their gaps. And but it started with the twin flame, because the twin flame is that highest form of energy in our consciousness that we're seeking to have that love in order for our spirit to 185% connect itself so we can
Mhm.
feel peaceful in our mind, in our body, in our spirit, in our passion, in what our truth is as to why we're here on the planet. So it's kind of like that carrot. The twin flame is the carrot that dangles in front of us, that is
Mhm.
that highest expression of that romanticism for ourself, but it's the spirit of ourself we're really romanticizing, and we just want someone to share it with. So it really gets people started on their journey, and then they work it backwards, and then they land that actual relationship that they want because they're aligned to it, and they now have the knowledge. Their energy has reframed enough, they can hold it in. So that's what got that's my passion, as you can tell. Like I can talk about it forever because I want everyone to have it.
Yeah, well,
Right?
you're also
Like,
living it, so that's
yeah,
why you get goosebumps.
yeah, yeah, it's
You're
like it's
living
my
it.
passion.
Yes, yes, yes. Okay. All right. So tell our listeners where they can connect with you, where they can have sign up for a copy of your course, and about your podcast and all those things.
Well, the easiest way to find me is just my name, Shelby Carino, .com. That's my website. So SHELBYCARINO.com. Like I said, that's the easiest way to find me because I have everything listed with all of my courses. You can read about them, get them if you want, self-paced, whatever. It's a lot of activations. And then my relationship reset podcast, there's a long story behind that, but it is still active on Apple. But a lot of my content is on my podcast called Shelby Radio.
Oh,
And
nice.
so that is just my first name and the word radio typed in all in one. So
And
I
how
have
did
like,
I get the radio?
huh?
How did I get the Shelby radio?
Well, interesting enough, when I was 26, I married a radio personality.
Okay.
And so I lived the what I call the little the entertainment industry of radio. And I even when Kelly Clarkson won American Idol, I interviewed her, on air
Oh,
and
that's
on
beautiful.
in Atlanta,
Okay.
Georgia, and things like that. So I have this background of radio, and so it was
Mm.
but I never followed through with it, even when I got offered jobs out of respect for who I was with at the time. So there was something in my spirit that had to come back and take that radio energy back for myself. So I called my podcast, my podcast that I actively work is called Shelby Radio.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
And
Got
then,
you. Got you. It sounds good too. I like it.
yeah,
Short. Everybody can remember it. Okay. All right. And you're on social media. What are your handles?
I'm on social media, everything Shelby Carino.
Okay. So just your name. Okay.
Yep, just my name. So really, if you just go to my website, you see all my social media handles there.
Okay.
It's like my whole thing is on just shelbycarino.com, or
Okay.
just Google, you'll find it.
Okay. So that's amazing. Wow. Shelby, this was a great interview. Very deep.
Yeah, very deep. That is
Yeah,
what the twin.
I know. I think maybe almost 5 years ago or something, I had someone on the show that talked about soulmate and twin flames together, like it was one thing. But now that I'm speaking to you, obviously you have differentiated it based on the energy, because your soulmate is a person. You're talking about the twin energy that makes you complete. So I'm glad that that I interviewed you and I talked to you, and now I understand. So now I'm gonna go and see, about my twin flame. What are the yeah, anyway, yes. I would like to definitely get more information. So maybe I will take one of your courses, because I call my husband my soulmate, but I need to know if he's my twin flame. Oh, so that's amazing. All right. So listen, thank you guys for tuning in to the Transform Your Mind to Transform Your Life, the radio podcast and television show. I will have a transcript of my conversation with Shelby on the show page. I will link out to her website and her social media and handles. And definitely, if you are in a space where you feel that you're looking for love so that you can, ascend to the highest spiritual level. And as far as I understand, that is what your soul came here to do, to experience itself and to have the highest version of itself. So, and usually we can't be an island. We have to have, that's why we're calling it a twin flame, because there's someone out there that allows you to experience this life to the highest level. And a lot of times the reason we have pain in relationships because we're picking them based on different things and it doesn't work out. So if you're picking someone by spiritual energy and by the twin flame, then I would say that you'll definitely have a much better and longer experience. So thank you, Shelby, for opening up our minds and transforming our minds on twin flames. And I guess I got to go watch that twin flame universe on Netflix to see what that's all about. Right. So thanks, Shelby. Any last words? Any last words before we wrap up?
My last words would just be to give grace to yourself on this higher spiritual awakening journey that you may be on, and where you're seeking that love because you're seeking it internally for yourself. And remember that twin flame is an energy instead of a person. So don't get confused, because even when the person shows up, that energy is still prevalent, and there's a bunch of respect that has to happen and processes that need to be played out to learn how to do these relationships differently so you can have success.
Yes, awesome. Well, yeah, that's great. And definitely head over to Shelby's website and peruse it and, see if you want to take a course, because like she says, you need to be guided. Yeah, these things don't happen without some kind of guidance. And she talked about her mentor, and yes, coaching sometimes is important for you to get to the next level, because a lot of times you can't do it yourself. So thanks again, Shelby.
I would not be here without the information of my mentor. There is no way
Yes.
I would not have known what to do.
Yes, exactly. That's what I said. A lot of times that's what you
Yep.
need if you want to move to the next level, or else you're just running around in circles, not getting anywhere. So yeah, sorry guys. So thank you guys for tuning in. If you're listening to this on iTunes, would love for you to rate and review and subscribe. If you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe so that you'll be notified of my new episodes every week. Once again, thanks for tuning in. Shelby, thanks for being on the show. I loved our conversation. And until next time, namaste.